Decision day for President Trump on the Iran nuclear deal. All signs say he'll leave the agreement. How will Iran respond, and could the U.S. pay the price?
New York's Attorney General. The Attorney General forced to resign. Stunning move came in less than 3 hours after a report laid out assault allegations by several women.
Activity has slowed from the Kilauea volcano. Hard to figure that out. 15 Romans eating everything in its way. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Early Start.
And authorities are saying, don't come here to sightsee, please. This is a natural disaster unfolding.
But you can see the temptation.
Oh, yeah.
To try to capture images.
Amazing.
Of this.
It is Tuesday, May 8th. It is 10 p.m. right now in Hawaii. We'll go there soon. It is 4 a.m. here in the East. Nice to see you all this morning. But breaking overnight, this bombshell. New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, once a champion of the Me Too movement, forced to resign after several women came forward with allegations of assault. Schneiderman's resignation came just hours after a report in The New Yorker, which featured stories from 4 women, 2 of those women on the record.
Michelle Manning-Barish and Tanya Selvaratnam told the magazine they had been romantically involved with Schneiderman, but they said the violence was non-consensual, required medical attention, and often happened after Schneiderman had been drinking. Selvaratnam also claimed Schneiderman had threatened to have her phone tapped.
The Attorney General firmly denied the claims, saying in a tweet he had, quote, engaged in role-playing and other consensual sexual activity, but that non-consensual sex, quote, is a line I would not cross. As the uproar grew last night, top officials, including Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Governor Andrew Cuomo, called on Schneiderman to step down, and he obliged. He said in a statement, serious allegations, which I strongly contest, have been made against me. He said, while these allegations are unrelated to my professional conduct or the operations of the office, they will effectively prevent me from leading the office's work at this critical time.
Schneiderman had been a rising star in Democratic politics and a vocal advocate for the Me Too movement. He brought legal action against film mogul Harvey Weinstein and the Trump administration. One woman who came to Schneiderman's defense, his ex-wife, Jennifer Cunningham. She said in a statement that the allegations are completely inconsistent with the man I know. A spokesman for the Manhattan District Attorney says the office has opened an investigation into Schneiderman.
All right, also this morning, President Trump widely expected to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal today. An announcement is scheduled for 2 p.m. Eastern time. If he decides not to extend waivers on sanctions against Iran, the United States would effectively be scrapping the agreement. For more on the potential impact of a U.S. pullout, let's go live to London and bring in CNN's Nick Robertson. And Nick, despite furious lobbying from the Europeans and from other American allies, many think that the president is leaning toward getting out of this agreement.
That's definitely the impression in Europe at the moment. I mean, British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson in Washington there, following on from the French president, from the German chancellor, all trying to tell President Trump, don't scrap the JCPOA. It's too valuable. It's doing a good job. This deal should stick and should hold until we find something better. They agree that President Trump has good points, that part of that deal doesn't work, that Iran is building ballistic missiles, that there should be tougher inspections, that there should be no sunset clauses. These sorts of things there's agreement on. Iran, for its part, has threatened in part perhaps to go back to enriching uranium if President Trump withdraws those waivers. We've also heard today from the Iranian president saying that despite sanctions, Iran would continue doing business with the rest of the world. We've heard as well from the head of Iran's central bank today saying that the sanctions from the United States reimposed would not hurt the Iranian economy. They seem to be talking down domestically the impact, but of course Iran's central bank would be target number 1 of the reimposition of sanctions, and possibly after that Iranian businesses. This would affect Iran's ability to produce oil, and certainly at this time would bring into very sharp focus the way that President Trump deals with big negotiated deals, nuclear deals like this, as he's about to head into talks with Kim Jong-un and North Korea. So this could set the stage for that. And at the same time, we've heard from President Trump as well, putting down John Kerry's backdoor efforts, in a way, talking to the Iranian foreign minister in the United States about how and why the deal should continue.
Yeah, certainly, Nick, the oil markets are predicting that he is going to pull out because oil prices have been rising. And a couple of analysts in this country say it could be 30 cents higher gas prices for American consumers if the United States pulls out of this deal and fails to extend those waivers. So waivers. We'll talk about this again in the next half hour. Thanks so much, Nick.
It's also primary season for the 2018 midterms. Getting into full swing today. Voters heading to the polls in 4 states: Indiana, North Carolina, Ohio, and West Virginia. Those are all states President Trump won in 2016. That anti-establishment wave will certainly be put to the test today. Much of the focus on this GOP Senate primary in West Virginia. Republicans are openly agonizing about the possibility of this gentleman on your right, Don Blankenship. One of the Senate's leading Republicans, South Dakota's John Thune, says about a Blankenship victory, let's hope and pray that doesn't happen.
Blankenship is a former coal industry executive who went to prison after the Upper Big Branch mine disaster. Remember that? 2010, 29 dead in Upper Big Branch mine. He's attacked Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, calling him, quote, Cocaine Mitch. He's gone after McConnell's wife, the Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao, referring to her father as a China person.
Blankenship calls himself Trumpier than Trump, but is being opposed by Trump. The White House is concerned he could become Roy Moore on steroids if he wins the primary, losing what they view as an otherwise winnable general election race against incumbent Democrat Joe Manchin. President Trump tweeted Monday, Blankenship can't win in November, urging West Virginians to vote for one of 2 mainstream GOP candidates.
All right, in Indiana, there is a 3-way race in the GOP Senate primary between candidates Todd Rokita, Luke Messer, and Mike Braun. The winner will face incumbent Democrat Joe Donnelly in November. This is another seat Republicans believe they can flip.
In Ohio, Representative Jim Renacki is considered the front runner for the GOP Senate nomination, running against investment banker Michael Gibbons. President Trump endorsed Renacki, even though Gibbons co-chaired Trump's fundraising efforts in Ohio. The winner faces Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown.
There are also primaries in both parties to replace Governor John Kasich, who is term limited. The Democratic race pits former Ohio Attorney General Richard Cordray, remember he used to be the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, against former Ohio Congressman Dennis Kucinich. On the Republican side, it is Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine against Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor. North Carolina also votes today, and there are no statewide races.
A senior White House official says the Trump administration is backing Jeff Sessions as House conservatives threaten to hold the Attorney General in contempt of Congress for failing to turn over documents from the Russia investigation. Legislative Affairs Director Mark Short telling CNN, I think we are supportive of our cabinet, although Short did acknowledge frustration with the DOJ over records. Now, just last week, the president was ripping the Justice Department on this very issue, even threatening to get personally involved.
House Speaker Paul Ryan is not commenting on House Intel Committee Chairman Devin Nunes's threat to hold Sessions in contempt. CNN reported last week that Nunes threatened to take action against the DOJ for failing to turn over sensitive documents, but failed to read them once he got them.
The Rudy Giuliani media blitz not playing too well in the White House. According to a senior official, some staffers and members of the president's legal team are complaining because they never know when Giuliani will pop up next on TV. For now, we are told he is still cleared to do interviews with the president's approval, but one senior official told CNN either he'll change his behavior or he's not going to do it very long.
Also learning from a source, there's no firm deadline for a decision on whether the president will agree to an interview with the special counsel. It's because incoming White House attorney Emmett Flood is expected to play a role in making that decision, and he hasn't started yet. We are told there have been discussions about a potential target date of May 17th for an announcement.
First Lady Melania Trump unveiling her formal platform Monday titled Be Best. It is centered on helping children. Will focus on 3 main points: well-being, fighting opioid abuse, and positivity on social media. The last issue generating some controversy indeed for Mrs. Trump, whose husband is known for the occasional name-calling on Twitter. Here's what the First Lady said with the president sitting in the front row.
As we all know, social media can be both positively and negatively affect on our children, but too often it's used in negative ways. When children learn positive online behaviors early on, social media can be used in productive ways and can affect positive change.
A new CNN poll finds 57% of the American people have a favorable impression of the First Lady. It's a big jump from 47% in January. The numbers show growth across the political spectrum among Democrats, Republicans, and independents. Perhaps a result of that photograph with the former presidents and their wives.
You're right.
She hasn't done much else.
Or was the white hat? No, I do think it's also she has had a separate public persona from her husband, right? They have separate schedules. They sometimes arrive separately to, you know, so it could be. They
reportedly live essentially separate lives, according to a Washington Post profile.
Anyway, 57 points, 57%. All right, residents riding out the uncertainty in Hawaii as lava from the Kilauea volcano destroys more buildings, changes more lives. Look at this time release. This lava just swallowing up that car. Incredible. Next, we speak live with the Hawaii governor, David Ige.
Look.
All right, the pictures are just stunning. In Hawaii, lava flows have eased around the erupting Kilauea volcano on the Big Island, but this is seen by emergency officials as something temporary. Be prepared to get out at a moment's notice. Volcanic activity, according to authorities, has subsided at all 12 fissures, but officials again say it's likely just a pause in activity, and the hazardous fumes, the sulfur dioxide, continue at this hour. Dozens of structures are destroyed. The community gathering for a meeting north of hard-hit Leilani Estates.
Let's bring in the Hawaii Governor, David Ige, joining us by the phone. Good morning, Governor. Thanks for being with us, 10 p.m. there, local time. Is there some sense of comfort that these 12 fissures, at least there's a temporary pause in volcanic activity?
Yes, good morning. I don't think that there's definitely a relaxation to some extent, but I think everyone has been through a volcanic eruption before, and they know that it's temporary, and the geologists expect that the eruption will continue. There are signs that it's not over yet.
Yeah, the island's been hit by hundreds of earthquakes in recent days, and this pause here, at least for now, I guess allows people to figure out you know, what's happened to their belongings, what's happened to their homes, but you do not want sightseers to be coming to these locations. Tell us a little bit about your warning for people who want to get close or take pictures of this lava.
Yes, certainly we have restricted the area. I just wanted to start by saying Leilani Estates is a relatively small portion of Hawaii Island, so the rest of the island and both airports are operating at full capacity. But we are asking any visitors and residents to stay out of the Leilani Gardens estate. You know, the volcanic activity is unpredictable, and clearly it's a tough time for the residents there, some of which have lost their possessions.
Is there a sense of helplessness when it comes to this volcanic activity? You can't do anything to stop lava, and once it's formed, there's very little you can do to remove it.
Yes, I mean, I do think that there's a sense that it's Mother Nature. The lava flow is unpredictable. It's hard to determine which direction it will go on. You know, it starts and stops, you know, on a whim, and I think that that's the uncertainty that all of the residents are faced with.
Kilauea has been erupting pretty much on and off for what, I think 35 years. This is the most active volcano in the world, so clearly authorities there have a good sense of how to live around it and keep the beautiful islands still open for tourism. Tell us a little bit about what it's like in paradise there when something like this happens. What's your message?
Well, certainly on a couple fronts, I think that, you know, clearly all of the government officials, county, state, and federal, FEMA is on the ground here and have been, we've been in constant discussion with them. I mean, I think people understand how to live with the volcano there and the fact that eruptions are unpredictable. But, you know, it's still high anxiety for those living directly in the area. We've allowed residents to return to collect their possessions. We are monitoring the emissions from the fissures and watching the lava activity to make sure that it's safe and that we definitely don't want to put any residents in harm's way.
You talked about some of those that have lost their homes, 26 homes among the 35 structures destroyed. Are people insured against those losses, generally speaking? And if you can address the toxic gases and how big a concern those are.
It's a couple of things. On the insurance front, we do know that if they have homeowners insurance with fire coverage, typically they will get some return. When the lava approaches a home, the home will burst into flames before it's actually consumed by the lava. And so as long as they had the typical homeowners insurance with fire protection, they will get some return. We will continue to monitor that and make sure that the residents who have been paying for insurance will get their coverage.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We were watching this video of a car of lava moving across a road, and the car burst into flames before the lava even got there. You're right, the heat from this event is so amazing. We're showing that again now. What is your message to people? I mean, you made at the very top of this interview, you made a very good remark for people who are coming to Hawaii and its beautiful islands. Hawaii is open for business.
Right. I mean, Hawaii is open for business. If you had vacation plans to come to Hawaii, we would encourage you to continue to come. Certainly, we don't and will discourage you from trying to get into the Leilani Estate subdivision because it really is for residents only and emergency responders and those government officials who are really helping the community cope with this tragedy.
And no sightseers, please.
Yeah, we hope that.
Of this subdivision. Typically an eruption occurs miles away from any residence, and the toxic gases has lots of time to escape. These fissures are in the middle of this subdivision, and the sulfur dioxide and other gases clearly at the vent is very harmful and dangerous. Watch and monitor activity and really be prepared to evacuate if something should change or the status of the volcano should change.
Governor David Ige from Hawaii, thank you so much for joining us this evening where you are with that.
This will be his 8th straight conference finals.
Are hitting oil prices, and that means higher costs for many U.S. companies and you. U.S. oil prices are near a 4-year high, rising 13% in the past month as investors bet the president will abandon the nuclear Iran deal. The deal allows Iran to export more oil. Reimposing sanctions could disrupt global oil supply and cause you higher gas prices. Higher oil prices pressure transportation companies, airlines, railroad, trucking, delivery, paying more after years of low fuel costs. Consumer companies also spend on oil to manufacture and ship products. Think Hershey, Estee Lauder, Clorox, General Mills, Oreo maker Mondelez. Oil makes up a fifth of their expenses. Automakers are also at risk. SUVs and trucks drive auto sales, but big vehicles obviously become less appealing as gas prices rise. Higher oil prices translate into those higher gas prices. This summer will likely be the most expensive at the pump in years, up 14% from last year. Gas Buddy says prices could spike another 30 cents a gallon if Trump withdraws from the Iran deal. Withdrawing from the Iran deal could be 30 cents more per gallon of gas for American drivers. It's not all bad news. Higher crude helps the bottom line of companies like Exxon and Chevron, and U.S. oil producers are ramping up production. They are hiring workers, and they're buying equipment as they pump out a record 10 million barrels a day.
But if gas prices go up 30 cents a gallon as we head into midterms, that's certainly something that weighs on the mind of voters. All right, let's talk a little sports. LeBron James and company putting an exclamation point on their series sweep of the Toronto Raptors, winning Game 4 128-93 in Cleveland last night. LeBron led the way again, 29 points for the Cavs. Cleveland plays the winner of Boston-Philly in the Eastern Conference Finals. This will be the team's 4th straight trip to the conference finals, but 8th straight overall for LeBron James. It's also the 3rd year in a row the Cavs have eliminated the Raptors from the playoffs. LeBron James, unstoppable.
Wow.
Regardless.
All right, President Trump widely expected to abandon the nuclear deal with Iran today. What is the fallout here? How will Iran respond?
And the Attorney General of New York State forced to resign after being a champion for women's issues. Several women now say Schneiderman assaulted them. The latest next.
Who can be a victim of identity theft?
All right, good morning. Welcome back to Early Start. I'm Christine Romans.
I'm Dave Briggs. It's 4:33 Eastern Time, 10:33 in Hawaii, and we'll check in there regarding the Kilauea volcano shortly. But breaking overnight, New York State Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, a rising star in Democratic politics and once a champion of the Me Too movement, forced to resign after several women come forward with allegations of assault. Schneiderman's resignation came just hours after a report in The New Yorker, which featured stories from 4 women, 2 of them on the record.
Michelle Manning-Barish and Tanya Selva-Ratnam told the magazine they had been romantically involved with Schneiderman, but they said the violence they suffered was non-consensual, required medical attention, and often happened after Schneiderman had been drinking. Each woman said Schneiderman hit her, slapped her hard, choked her, and threatened to kill her if she broke up with him. Selva-Ratnam also claimed Schneiderman threatened to have her phone tapped.
The Attorney General firmly denied the claims, saying in a tweet he had engaged in role-playing and other consensual sexual activity, but that non-consensual sex, quote, is a line I would not cross. As the uproar grew last night, top officials, including Senator Kirsten Gillibrand and Governor Andrew Cuomo, called on Schneiderman to step down, and he obliged. He said in a statement, "Serious allegations, which I strongly contest, have been made against me." He said, while these allegations are unrelated to my professional conduct or the operations of the office, they will effectively prevent me from leading the office's work at this critical time.
Schneiderman had been a rising star in Democratic politics, a vocal. He said in a statement, the allegations are completely inconsistent with the man I know. A spokesman for the Manhattan District Attorney says the office has opened an investigation into Schneiderman.
The agreement. For more on the impact of all of this, let's go live to London and bring in CNN's Nick Robertson. Nick, when you look at our allies, London, Britain, Germany, France,
the best thing that everyone has, that there isn't a good plan B, that it's better to stick to this. Yes, they agree with the president that there are some things that Iran should change, its destabilization in the region, its ballistic missiles program, that there should be tougher inspections regime, that there should be no sunset clauses on some parts of this deal. But at the same time, they're saying to President Trump, don't abrogate on the waivers. Don't back out of this deal, because the implications are for greater instability. The clear implications would be, in part, that Iran's oil sales would be crimped. This would force up the price of gas at petrol pumps. Iran, for its part, today, the president of Iran saying that they will continue doing business with the rest of the world, irrespective irrespective of whatever sanctions the United States places. The head of the Central Bank of Iran, which would be the first to be affected if these waivers are not renewed, has said that this will not affect the economy of Iran, but at the same time other Iranian officials have said that they could go back to enriching much more uranium. That would be a major international concern right there. How President Trump handles all of this could impact how his ability at the negotiating table with Kim Jong-un over North Korea's nuclear weapons, how that Iranian foreign minister to talk about the deal and how it can be saved. Expectations at the moment from the European partners, Germany, France, Britain, not hopeful that President Trump will stay the course as they want.
Major global implications, 2 o'clock today. Nick Robertson live for us in London. Thanks.
All right, to politics here. Primary season for the 2018 midterms gets into full swing today. Voters head to the polls in 4 states: Indiana, North Carolina, Ohio, West Virginia. Those are all states President Trump won in 2016. That anti-establishment wave will be put to the test today. Much of the focus is on the GOP Senate primary in West Virginia. Republicans are openly agonizing about the possibility Don Blankenship will win.
One of the Senate's leading Republicans, South Dakota's John Thune, says about a Blankenship victory, let's hope and pray that doesn't happen. Blankenship is a former coal executive who spent time in prison after the Upper Big Branch mine disaster that led to 29 deaths in 2010. He has attacked Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, calling him Cocaine Mitch, and gone after McConnell's wife, Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao, referring
if he wins the primary, losing what they view as an otherwise winnable general election race against incumbent Democrat Joe Manchin. President Trump tweeted Monday that Blankenship can't win in November, urging West Virginians to vote for one of 2 mainstream GOP candidates.
In Indiana, there is a 3-way race in the GOP Senate primary between candidates Todd Rokita, Luke Messer, and Trump
endorsed Bernacchi, even though Gibbons co-chaired Trump's fundraising efforts in Ohio. The winner faces Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown.
Also primaries in both parties to replace Governor John Kasich, who is term limited. The Democratic race pits former Ohio Attorney General Richard Cordray against former Ohio Congressman Dennis Kucinich. On the Republican side is Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine against Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor. North Carolina also votes today, but no statewide races.
All right, the Trump administration dramatically tightening a zero-tolerance policy on illegal border crossings in the Southwest. The result could mean criminal convictions, even for those found to have valid asylum claims, and possibly separating far more parents from their children at the border. Attorney General Jeff Sessions saying anyone crossing unlawfully will be prosecuted. It's that simple.
We don't want to separate families, but we don't want families to come to the border illegally and attempt to enter into this country improperly. We urge them not to do so, not to come themselves illegally, and even worse, to bring their children with them or some other children.
Critics say the new policy could overwhelm immigration courts and detention space. Homeland Security figures show illegal border crossings have plunged over the last few decades and are currently in line with seasonal trends.
The White House appears to be suffering from confirmation fatigue, and embattled EPA Administrator Scott Pruitt may be the big beneficiary, at least for now. Multiple White House officials tell CNN Pruitt still has his job because the administration cannot get anyone else confirmed. Officials pointing to the struggle to get Secretary of State Mike Pompeo through the process, as well as the failure of VA nominee Ronnie Jackson and the uncertainty now facing the CIA nominee Gina Haspel.
CNN has also learned documents provided to Congress failed to show Pruitt obtained the federally required waivers he needed to fly first class. Instead, the EPA provided investigators with 2 memos. According to the House Oversight Committee, CNN obtained the memos which say people have recognized Pruitt and the claim the occasional lashing out from passengers could endanger his life. if he flies in coach. An EPA spokesman says the agency is providing the necessary documents. All right, residents are riding out the uncertainty in Hawaii. Just look at this. Lava just swallowing a car. Stunning images. The governor just told us toxic gas is a huge concern. What makes this eruption from Kilauea so different? We'll hear from the USGS next.
Typically, an eruption occurs miles away from any residence, and the toxic gases has lots of time to escape. These fissures are in the middle of the subdivision, and the sulfur dioxide and other gases clearly at the vent is very harmful and dangerous, but it does dissipate quite quickly once it gets into the air. And so we've been encouraging residents to stay away from the vent, to watch and monitor activity, and really be prepared to evacuate if something should change or the status of the volcano should change.
Hawaii's Governor David Ige joined us earlier talking about the sense of urgency there. Says visitors should stay away from the erupting Kilauea volcano on the Big Island. Lava flows have eased for now, but lava flow is very unpredictable, and toxic gases the governor talked about leaking in more populated areas. Dozens of structures are destroyed. The danger of earthquakes and eruption could last for months.
Let's bring in Victoria Avery, Associate Program Coordinator for the U.S. Geological Survey's Volcano Hazards Program. She joins us by phone from Sterling, Virginia. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, we know that there seems to be a pause in the eruption at this point, but temporary. The authorities there are saying, please make sure this could resume at any time. You've got to be on guard. What can you tell us?
That's very true. I think good morning. I think the emergency managers have described the situation quite accurately. Kilauea has a history of erupting in spurts, fits and starts, and it's a very complex plumbing system under the volcano, so you can have lava traveling all up and down that east rift zone that Leilani Estates is on. So we've been very busy monitoring the volcano and providing warnings to the emergency managers so that they can handle evacuations and protect people from this hazard.
We're seeing some dramatic images, Victoria, in particular of lava just eating a car as it destroys everything in its wake. Is there anything you can do to stop lava flow or to remove it once it's hardened?
I think people have used bulldozers to remove it. On occasion, they've used bulldozers to try to create berms to divert the lava flow around. Some people, I understand, have a philosophy that this is Pele, the volcano goddess, and where she goes, you just let her go.
This Kilauea volcano has been erupting continually since 1983. Pele, the volcano goddess, has been at work. What makes this week so different?
It's different because, as the governor said, there are people situated right on top of the rift zone. So I think you know that these big, broad shield volcanoes are composed of a central summit crater, and Kilauea is just about 2 by 2 miles, and then you have these rift zones radiating off it. And the magma can come up under the caldera and then migrate down the rift zone. You get earthquakes happening with the volcanic activity. The volcanic activity can cause the earthquakes. It can, by pushing out by the magma coming up and pushing on the sides of the volcanoes, but the earthquakes can also make the lava change paths. So that's what makes it rather unpredictable. That plus a complex plumbing system in the rift zone is what makes where the lava will come out unpredictable. Fortunately, we can predict it in the short term because the magma activity creates little earthquakes that we can pick up with our seismometers, and it also causes the ground to swell or deflate, which we can pick up with our deformation instruments. So we gave the residents of Leilani Estates about 4 days warning that something was coming.
Obviously, again, it's these images that get our attention, but can you talk about the toxic gases and how big a concern they are and how long the folks could potentially be dealing with this?
Oh, yeah. As the governor said, this could go on for months in one location. And basically, volcanoes like Kilauea emit CO2, carbon dioxide, and sulfur dioxide. The sulfur dioxide in particular can react with particles in the air and water and oxygen to become sulfuric acid. And that's really a health hazard, especially for when people breathe it in, especially if they have respiratory tracts that are already compromised, if they have asthma or something. It's a big problem from the summit of Kilauea, so you don't want to be close to it. And that's probably why you see some residents on TV wearing gas masks as they go in to check on their belongings.
Victoria, fascinating that you said you gave the residents of that neighborhood 4 days warning because you could see from your monitoring and testing sort of what was going to happen next. Tell us a little bit about that process and whether you'll be able to warn people again if these fissures start to activate again.
Right, so now there's 12 distinct fissures in various stages of eruption with lava or gas coming out of them. And we have about 5 seismometers in that general area. We have about 72, 75 seismometers all over the Big Island. This Big Island is very well instrumented. And it's through our instruments that we are constantly 24/7 monitoring the seismicity, the gases at the summit of Kilauea, but the seismicity and the ground deformation at Leilani Estates and the whole Kilauea volcano, really. And we also do overflights, so we can check on have a visual on where the lava's going. So this is 24/7 right now. We have people manning 24/7. When there's not an event like this, we have automated alarms that wake somebody up and let them know when activity is risen so they can check it out themselves.
Victoria Avery from the U.S. Geological Survey, thank you so much. The Volcano Hazards Program, really fascinating to get a look at what she calls the complex plumbing system underneath there that is causing all this trouble. Thank you so much for getting up early for us. I know you guys have been working real hard.
Happy to be here.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, ahead, funding for the Children's Health Insurance Program suddenly at risk once again. More on the proposed spending cuts next.